Hi everyone, I'm Josh. This is Gabe.
Hi.
We're going to be showing you a little something about sitting posture today. We get a lot of patients coming in that complain that they get lower back pain whenever they've been sitting, neck pain, arm pain, shoulder pain, and usually it has a lot to do with how they're positioning themselves. So we just thought we'd educate the general public on how do you sit. Sounds pretty simple, but there's a lot of detail that goes into it. So we set up a mock computer station right here. Gabe, if you can kind of show them how, we'll just scoot up to the mat here, okay? And this is a laptop. Ideally, you'd have a desktop where the screen is set up to one height and the keyboard set at another, but this is a real life scenario. We're at a laptop, so we've got to try to adjust it to see what we can do best, okay? Again, ideally, whenever you're setting yourself up, you want to set yourself up so that the screen would ideally be at eye level, so that your eyesight is straight across the top of the screen at eye level. Your arms would naturally be bent more at a 90-degree angle, kind of right here when you're working at the keyboard, but you just do what you can. And ideally, whenever you're sitting, your knees would slightly be lower than your hips. And the thing about your sitting position is you want to sit on your sit bones, okay, not on your tailbone, okay? You want to sit on your sit bones right here, okay? So let's break that down a little bit more. So whenever you're sitting with the ideal position in front of the computer station or wherever you're at, sometimes it's hard to get in those ideal positions because of restrictions in your body. Sometimes you want to sit up straight, but sometimes people will overemphasize sitting up straight and they'll actually sit up like this, with too much arch in their back. A lot of times that's because they're trying to be overcognizant of their posture, and they don't realize they're actually putting too much pressure into their lower back. And whenever they overextend the back, then the neck naturally comes forward and that can put too much strain in the neck, okay? Likewise, the opposite of that is somebody might slouch here, okay? And that's gonna put too much tension on this part of the neck, or this part of the upper back and neck, and really can cause headaches from craning back the neck like Gabe's demonstrating there, okay? Two reasons people might do that is because of restrictions in the chest. And so when you have restrictions in your chest muscles, it can cause you to either over-exaggerate by lifting the rib cage or slumping and falling into that. And so by stretching your chest, you can help alleviate that and feel more freedom in sitting up straight whenever you're sitting throughout the workday. Another thing that people do commonly is through the pelvis. They'll commonly sit slumped, which is around your back, and they're sitting in a way they're sitting on their tailbone, or you can imagine if we did have a tail and the tail was coming out our back, you'd be sitting on your tail. Gabe uses that example quite a bit with patients. So when you're sitting like this, a lot of times you're getting an overstrain in your lower back muscles. Those muscles are stretched at all times so that whenever you do get up, suddenly your back might feel strained because these muscles aren't in their neutral state, and then they're prone to getting strained when trying to do something more vigorous, okay? The reverse of that is sometimes people might sit up too much and they'll over-exaggerate and get too much curvature in their lower back and actually load their back in this way and sitting too much. So we're trying to find that perfect balance. And so whenever you're sitting, if you can really roll your pelvis forward, okay, and feel that you go off your sit bones, roll it all the way back and see that you roll off your sit bones in the opposite way, now you're on your tailbone, then try to find the in the middle. So if you find that spot in the middle, you can feel those little bones underneath your buttocks there, that's where you're supposed to be sitting. Because a neutral sitting posture is really the same thing as your standing posture is supposed to be, so that when you're sitting, you could stand up and your back's in the same position. And that way, you wouldn't get the more common strains the general population does. When they go from sitting to standing, they hurt their back. If you can stay neutral all the time, it makes a big difference. And so, again, ideally in an office chair, if you had support on your back, that's going to be more ideal. I'm going to grab something here. This is called a Wonder Roll, an inflatable device. So again, let's just scoot back here a little bit to show what that can do. So you place that into the lower back, and that can just give you a little extra support when you're sitting up, so your body doesn't have to work as hard. But let's say Gabe has really tight hips, and when you have really tight buttock muscles or tight hips, those tight muscles can actually pull you down. So I'm going to take this out from under you. So the tight buttock muscles will pull you down and give you more of a rounded appearance there. And so in order to help somebody straighten up here, sometimes we need a little extra support in the back to do that. You can purchase a wedge on Amazon or any online store, really, back store. But a lot of times we'll take a beach towel or a bath towel and fold it into a wedge like this. You fold it into thirds, stand up here. And then Gabe's gonna sit back down on the back edge of that wedge. And you can see how the back edge of the wedge actually pushes his pelvis up and puts him into a more neutral position. So now his body doesn't have to work as hard to be in that position if he didn't have good enough hip mobility to do that. Okay, but our goal for Gabe would be then to, if he had tight hips, would be to stretch his hips more, stretch the buttocks out by doing a simple glute stretch. Gabe, show him how to pull your knee across and just do a glute stretch. Just by pulling the knee across and stretching the glutes throughout the day would give him the freedom in the hips to then sit up more straight. And so that could reduce any kind of pain or strain he might be feeling throughout the day. Gabe, are we missing anything? Anything else we need to mention in general?
I think that's it.
Okay, the key is when you have to sit, try to be in a neutral position as much as possible. Give yourself support when you can. Try to keep your head over your shoulders and rib cage over top your pelvis at all times. But the body is made to move, motion is motion. So get up and move whenever you can, and transition from sit to stand whenever you can. If you can do some standing as well, that'll help as well. But hope this information helps.